Hey guys, it's Kristen, the Classy Cripple. Hope everybody is doing well today. Today was time change for us here in Pennsylvania, so I was up an hour earlier, which isn't ideal, but it's allowed me to be a little bit more productive today than what I may have been before. So it is what it is, and we're cruising along through the day. I have obviously some thoughts that I want to share with you guys since I'm coming to you today with a video. And it's going to be another maybe controversial subject. So you guys decide whether or not it's what you're into, but I really feel the need to share because this has been something that has been quite relevant what I'm about to talk about in my life throughout my journey with chronic pain, chronic illness, specifically psoriatic arthritis. So here we go. What I want to share with you guys today is I want to talk about the grieving process. I want to talk about grief. And you may be thinking, what does that have to do with psoriatic arthritis, Kristen? That just doesn't even make any sense. And what I want to say in conjunction with that, if that's how you're feeling, is continue to watch and I'll explain to you kind of what this means to me and why I feel like it's relevant for us. And in no way, shape, or form am I trying to compare what we go through to the loss of a loved one. Okay, but it kind of is in some way. I'm going to draw that correlation together for you and why I think that it's relevant. So let's start by talking about what the stages of grief are. Some of you, if you've ever lost anyone, in a death, type of situation, you may have heard about the stages of grief. You may understand a little bit about it. If you don't, I'm going to go through what those are. So the first one is denial. This can't be happening, right? Pretty straightforward. Number two is anger. You're mad. This can't be happening to me. Why is this happening, right? The third is bargaining. And that really comes from our need to regain control. What if I had done something different? Would I still be in this place? Number four is depression. Depression is greatly understood by, I think, many of us in the chronic illness community. Number five is acceptance. Probably the toughest one of all, I think, to really get to. And that's really marked by a state of calm and peace within yourself. So those are the 5 stages of grief. One more time, that's denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. And I want to talk to you about what those things mean to me. So early on when I was diagnosed, the diagnosis came from my right elbow. You guys have, here it is, my right elbow. You guys have heard me talk about that a little bit. I no longer have full use of it. The joint damage has become so severe that my arm literally does not extend the whole way anymore. I'm not going to regain control of that limb, that joint. We're not going to make it healthy again, at least not yet. And where modern medicine is at. So, that was the first kind of trigger point for me, was to learn how to deal with the loss of a healthy joint and a healthy arm that could move normally. And I really and truly went through these 5 stages of grief. In addition to that, my inflammation markers were so high and so severe when I was very first diagnosed. The first rheumatologist that I saw, they said to me, they were like, if we don't get your inflammation levels under control, you could be in a wheelchair by the time you are 25. If that's not going to shock you into some stages of grief, I don't know what is. And it definitely did for me. I went through denial. This isn't happening to me. I went through anger. This is crap that it's happening to me. And I'm angry that it is at 19 years old. I felt like, what did I do to bring this on myself? And could I have done something to prevent it? I was sad and regretful and upset. I definitely had the depression phase with it. And it took me time, but I did get to the point of a place of acceptance. And what's unique is I find myself in a state where, as my disease is progressing, I find myself regularly going through these 5 stages of grief. I find myself really going through this mourning and this healing process over the loss of a few different things. And I made a list so I wouldn't forget for you guys, because I know sometimes I get a little too scattered, but I one of the things that's really big that I'm continually learning um, to accept, not to be defeated by, but to accept what is going on in my body, is really the loss of my healthy joints. The healthy joints in my knees and in my hip and my feet and my hands and my wrists and my elbow. I've had to grieve the loss of those joints that were once healthy and move normally and would support me in whatever I was doing physically. I've had to make a lot of changes to how I feel about those joints. And I've had to say, you know, no, we aren't what we once were, but we are something more now. We're something different now. And that's okay. It's okay to be something different now. And because truly, I've gone through those 5 stages of grief across the board with every joint as it becomes effective. It's almost like a wave hits me again when the next one seems to go. So I don't know if you guys can relate to that at all, but I mean, I know I definitely do. So the use of my joints is a big one. The, having healthy skin. God, I can't remember the last time my skin really felt truly healthy. My psoriasis is under control now, but it doesn't mean that my skin isn't wildly sensitive, which I'm sure a lot of you guys have. I mean, I have to be so careful what products I use on it: shampoo, conditioner, lotions, nail polish, the things like that affect my nails and my skin around it. Chemicals of any kind, I have to be so careful. So because things can really set off my skin very, very quickly. Um, those are some of the physical things that I've gone through the grieving process with, but I've also really gone through the grieving process with some things that are emotional as well. And I made another little list for you guys so I wouldn't forget anything. The first thing that I thought about was spontaneity. I've really gone through the 5 stages of grief with my spontaneity. I used to be a very, very spontaneous person. I would just decide something on a whim and boom, there you go. Probably why I'm doing videos for you guys, because one day I woke up and on a whim I said, boom, this is what I'm going to do. I'm pretty free spirited. I trust my gut when I want to do something and I just do it. But living with chronic illness has really changed that. I've got a plan. I've got a plan. And even when I do plan, the plan doesn't always come to fruition because I don't know how I'm going to feel that day. And if it's a really bad day, we've got to make some big changes, big, big changes in the plan. So I have grieved the loss of my spontaneity, big time. I've grieved the loss of my ability to accomplish things quickly. And by quickly, I mean physically quickly. I remember before my PSA, I could get up, get a shower, have coffee, get ready, put on makeup, get all the way dressed, pack my lunch, and be out the door in less than an hour ready to go to work or tackle the day. I can't do that anymore. I don't do that anymore. It's not what's right for my body anymore. It takes me a long time to get from point A to point B now, and everything in between takes a lot longer than what it used to. So going from doing all of those things in an hour, which many able-bodied people do, can take me at least 2 to 2.5 hours. Yeah, that's the truth. That's the truth. So I've grieved the loss of that. I've also grieved the loss of my energy. Oh man, I don't know if you guys remember the time in your lives where you could just get up and you could go hard, you could go all day, you could do all of these things and you just didn't get tired. Um, I've had to grieve the loss of that. Have you? I totally have. I miss feeling energized regularly. It's just not there anymore. Um, so I went through the 5 stages of grief with that. Some of the other things that I've, emotionally grieved through the loss of are like opening cans. I can't do it. It's such a pain, and nothing's more frustrating than you want something out of a can and you can't open the can. I grieve the loss of having the ability to maintain a top to bottom clean house all the time. It's just, I can't get it all done in a day. I cannot do it. It's just requires too much energy, too much physical strength, and I don't have it. So every day I don't have a clean house top to bottom like I would like to. Don't get me wrong, I do live tidy. I'm always tidy, but really being spick and span, I can't get down on the floor and scrub the floors like I used to or scrub the bathroom like I used to. It's difficult. You grieve the loss of those things. And I went through that. I had to grieve the loss of, it's going to sound really silly, but those of you with chronic illness, and especially who have limited use of your hands now and your wrists, will understand what I'm saying. I've had to grieve the loss of having long hair. I like my short hair, don't get me wrong. I always feel very sassy with it, and fabulous. But I miss having long hair sometimes, or just knowing that I could have long hair. But to try to wash and take care of long hair makes my hands hurt so bad, because everything from scrubbing my hair to rinsing it out to holding a hair dryer to blow dry it and then style it is too much. It just physically is too difficult. So I went through these stages of grief with that as well. So the point here is, guys, I don't know what you all use as a coping mechanism as your disease is ever changing, but this is what I do. I remember who I was before PSA, and I am, in many ways, I still hold true to that individual. However, there are a lot of things I've had to accept and be willing to change and work with this disease. I have not let it get the best of me. Don't think that I'm defeated by it at all. But please know that I absolutely know for a fact that the way I thought I would be able to do things when I was in a different health state to the way I am now are completely different. The way I'm going to get from point A to point B with psoriatic arthritis is way different than how I would get from point A to point B without psoriatic arthritis. So that's the thought that I have for you. I want to leave you with this, though. So it is difficult to have chronic illness, period, end of discussion, no debate. And if you need some type of definition to how to work with things and get through things, I look at it as the 5 stages of grief. And I find it to be very true. I'm no psychologist, so please don't hold me to it. It's just what works for me. But I want to tell you guys 2 things. Where's the camera? 2 things that I believe having chronic illness has done in a very wonderful way for my life. I feel like I have grown tremendously as a person. And there are 2 aspects of my personality, my journey that have developed that I'm so proud of and that I would not trade for the world. And that number 1 is psoriatic arthritis has allowed me to develop into a very sincerely empathetic and compassionate person in a genuine way. It really teaches you this disease. If you let it teach you something, and I have let it teach me something, it's taught me many things. But on the positive, that's one thing that it's taught me. I wouldn't trade how I genuinely feel for other people going through difficult things and my ability to relate to them for anything. Life is hard. You put chronic illness on top of it or other real struggles in your life, and it just is what it is. It's challenging and it's difficult. And I'm glad that I can feel so deeply and so honestly for other people. So I'm glad for PSA in that respect, that it has taught me to be that kind of person. The second thing that PSA has really taught me is it has given me the absolutely wonderful perspective of knowing what in life is truly important. And when I say that, each of us have a completely definition of what we believe is important. However, mine comes down to some days just basic survival mode. And I know that there are things that you just have to let go about worrying about when you have chronic illness. And there are things I think a lot of us in our lives need to just let go of, that they're just really not that important. The truth of the matter is, it's really not that important if I get the leaves out front raked up today. It's not. Nothing bad is going to happen. And I don't think anyone sat on their deathbed thinking, wow, I really wish I raked more leaves throughout my life, right? Or folded more laundry. A friend of mine said that. I really liked it when he did. It was so accurate. Or that they did more dishes. or that, I don't know, they cleaned more windows. These are not the things that define us in our lives. These aren't the things that are truly important. We do these things with integrity and when we can, but to me, what is the most important is my human connection to people, to all living species, really. My ability or the need for my self-care that I need and for my physical care, the need and the strong desire for me to be a great wife to my husband, a great mom to my dogs, a great friend to, those people in my life that I'm close to, a great daughter to my parents, a great sister to my brothers, a great sister-in-law to my sister-in-law, as my great, whatever. Those are the things in life that are really important. And PSA has given me tremendous perspective on that, and I'm very thankful for it. All right, guys. So I've been windy enough this morning. I hope that this resonates with you and that you find some relevance to it, that maybe you've learned a coping technique. If you guys have other coping techniques that you use to help you get to the point where you're in a more peaceful place when it comes to dealing with your disease, I would love to hear it. Please, please, please comment below. Like, let's brainstorm this. Let's work together to understand and share thoughts about how we can do this, because maybe you have a better way than I do. This just happens to be the way that works for me. So thank you guys. Have a good rest of your day. I'll check in soon. Bye.